Hey everyone, welcome to Uma Talks with Natalie Romash and Rita Kakati-Shah. Hi Rita.
Hi Natalie, hi everyone.
And Rita, I'd like us to start from saying to you Happy Diwali. I know that this is a holiday you celebrate and this is a holiday of light. So Rita and all our followers who celebrate this holiday, Happy Diwali.
Thank you so much. Happy Diwali to you too and to all our followers who celebrate as well.
Oh, thank you, Rita. And guys, today we're going to talk about reliability. And it may feel obvious and pretty natural that that when you are reliable, it feels so good and it is so easy to build a career when you are reliable. But in real life, sometimes it's not easy as we'd like to. Right, Rita?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's something that we all have at some point. We've all had examples where we think somebody else has not seemed reliable, and we're in reverse where we've not seemed reliable back. So it's a very worthwhile topic and one that affects everybody.
Oh, definitely. And Rita, as a board member and active speaker, you've seen a lot of people. And did you notice any habit all reliable people have in common?
That's actually a really good question. I always think there's different facets to everybody. You know, when you are in a certain frame of mind, you might be reliable to one profession, but not necessarily to another. I think from a professional perspective, everybody that I've seen, and myself as well, that when I am very organized, when I communicate with the other party, that to me is the reliability. For example, if I'm about to speak or I'm about to attend an advisory meeting of some sort and I'm running late for whatever reason, I have to communicate that to the organizers, to somebody to let them know, but not just as I'm not turning up in advance. When I know there's something that's up for whatever reason, or I have a technical issue, tell somebody in advance so they can organize it and they understand there's something going on. So I think communication is the key. Others that appear reliable as well, that's one thing they have, communication.
Oh, definitely. And I'm so glad that I am a part of UMA team, because while working at UMA, I learned so much about how actually to communicate. And guys, but there is one more very important thing about the reliability, and it is honesty. And it is honesty about being honest with yourself and about being honest with your team, especially when it comes to scope of work, to improvements, and to like inner dialogue with your inner perfectionist. And Rita, what is your advice on how to calm down the perfectionist and how to overcome this situation when you don't want to overpromise, and or when you overpromise so much that you literally feel like, hey, how am I gonna deliver this?
Yeah, you know what? That is a great question. I mean, I always tell people anyway, honesty is the best policy. Yes, but it's easier said than done. For example, we, especially as women, actually, we kind of tend to want to strive for perfection that little bit more. And sometimes by doing that, that can be something that lets us, you know, slow down a little bit or not meet something, a deadline, for example. So I tell people all the time that don't always strive for perfection, strive for just doing what you need to do and communicate that across. And I tell people as well, and you've mentioned it in your question, Natalie, that less is more. So as long as you promise something that you know you can deliver, always give yourself an extra day or so, or give yourself an extra hour, give yourself extra time, just in case you can't meet that. And if you can meet it, it makes you seem that more reliable. For example, say we have a task and we're working on it together, Natalie. And I say to you, hey, Natalie, I would like you to pass me that quote or that assignment. Can you give it to me tomorrow, please? One thing that you could say is, for example, sure, I can, but you might have other things on your plate. And said, yep, I could do that. But I also, just to remind you, I'm working on some other tasks right now. Would you like me to put them on hold to deliver this? Another example, Natalie, is where I might say, Natalie, can you drop everything and can you work on this project right now? And everyone says now, because for them, it is the most important. So one thing you could do is say, sure, Rita, I can take a look at it. When do you need it by? Because that, yeah, because when you need it by, the deadline can often be different to someone's perception. So you are taken on board. And if I said, oh, just give it to me, end of the week is fine. That automatically lets you think, okay, now I know how to plan my week. So you're keeping yourself and myself happy at the same time. And that's a really good way of negotiating and not getting yourself in some sort of a huff because you're taking too much on your plate.
Oh, thank you, Rita. The last part, I literally was so surprised because I never literally thought about that, like something that is you need like right for now or very like extremely important for you. It's actually can be, I can feel like that extremely important is like different timeline. And maybe for you it's end of the week, and I think that all right, I can like just, for example, it's Monday, and I need just like to throw everything up and just to do it like on Monday when you need it on Friday, for example.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, Natalie, it's also okay to say no. For example, there might be something coming at you and you just cannot get it done. And it's okay to push back. But again, do it in a way that it's becomes in a way that is solving the issue. You're trying to help the other person out. So that's just a little word of advice as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. And Rita, I'm so glad that we touched this topic because one of our followers, and her name is Sima, just got her dream job. And Sima is asking, I recently got a dream job, and I'm extremely excited to show my best self. And what tips do you have so I can look and make an appearance of professional and reliable person?
Great question. Well, congratulations, Seema. That's amazing that you got yourself your dream job. Not many people can say that, so that's wonderful. So I think the first thing is you're new to the job. Get to understand, get to see the lay of the land. Ask questions. Quite often when you're new, one thing that all of us have done at some point is when you're new, you try to impress a lot. And impress, you kind of think, oh, I don't want to ask a question because if I do, it might seem like I'm getting in the way, or I don't want to sort of ask too much to be a burden on that person. It's actually the opposite. People appreciate it, especially when you're new. Ask all those questions, find out the lay of the land. You might need that extra bit of hand holding. This is the time to ask for that. So absolutely, I think, you know, get to know your team members. If you're not quite in the office yet, you're working remotely, try to organize chats with them or Zoom sessions, or pick up the phone to them to find out, hey, I've been set this task to do so and so, could you just walk me through it if you have some time? Or I'd love to meet for a virtual coffee or an in-person coffee, let's chat about this a little bit. So that is part of communicating, getting to know people, and it starts to get you to kind of reacquaint yourself as well with a new task. Communicate, that's the other important thing as well. So if there's something you don't understand, please say that, do you mind just explaining it one more time? Or just to clarify, is this what you're asking for? So kind of read back to the person, repeat back to them what they're asking, so you know, you can confirm that that's the right thing.
Oh, thank you, Rita. And Sima, I'm so happy that you found this dream job, and good luck with it. And please feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions and just need like Uma support or Uma kind of empowerment and inspiration. And Rita, however, there are some situations when even when we are doing our best, like life happens, and we can get to the situation when we actually can't deliver our promises.
Yeah.
And yeah, guys, this feels literally like sometimes it's awkward, sometimes it's depressing, and anyway, it feels bad. And Rita, what can we do in order to overcome these situations and overcome these bad feelings and just handle it? And because, you know, I'm a big believer that with these actually bad emotions and situations, we can learn something about ourselves, about the situation, learn how to communicate, and even we can overcome these feelings of low self-esteem and self-doubt, and build even better relations with the person we are not delivered our promises.
Yeah, no, that is a really good question, Natalie, because that's something that we've all had, you know. And at the moment, you know, when you're working from home, there are sometimes multiple obligations. So where you might have some time set out to work on a particular task, something else might come up. In my personal situation, I have 2 young kids. The phone could ring at any moment, and one of the schools could say, hey, can you come and pick them up, or can you do this? Or I might have another emergency from one of the other UMA offices and say, hey, we need you to do this for us. So things always come up, and some of the things that you just can't, you know, control, that comes up. So couple of the things that you can do is initially, when setting yourself that personal deadline, give yourself some extra time. So where you know that, you know what, I know if I got this project done, it would take me, if I sat there nonstop, it would take me 3 hours of my time and all done. Give yourself at least a day. So you say to whoever set you the task that, you know, give me a day, give me a couple of days, and I'll see if I can get something to you. Similarly, if there's a deadline that you have that somebody's expecting a deliverable by, say today's Monday, and Friday is when you're supposed to hand something in, for example, and it's coming up to Wednesday and you really haven't had a look, or it's Thursday and you think, gosh, I'm just not going to get this done. That's the time to communicate and say, hey, I know tomorrow I'm supposed to be going through the first deliverable. There have been a number of issues that have come up that I'm seeing that actually, would you mind if we push this to Monday or Tuesday next week? So communicate that early. It is totally fine to push back. Be transparent. So if there are other issues that come up, say that. If you have a lot on your plate, work-wise especially, definitely say that too. I said, look, a lot of things have come on. I need to actually carve out some time to work on this project. Could I perhaps cordon myself off or put my do not disturb on? Or if you don't mind, could I actually skip that the weekly meeting today so I can actually work on this project? So these are some sort of little nuggets of information that you can do, but ultimately you need to communicate, you need to be transparent in what's going on. What you don't want to do is wait till that Friday when you're supposed to hand something in, your boss picks up the phone to you and you haven't got it and said, oh, sorry, I couldn't get it done, I need some more time, because that's what makes you seem unreliable. If you do it in advance, if you tell them, you're a problem solver. If it's the other way around, you're unreliable.
Got you. Thank you, Rita. And I have just one more question regarding to this topic. And if literally something happened and you didn't deliver, so there is a deadline and you meet this deadline. So how to communicate in this scenario? What we can say? What is like the maybe polite way or the right way to communicate and to save the relations after something literally like happened?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes things happen all the time. Again, it's just being transparent. You know, sometimes also people are uncontactable. You've got to remember that. You know, your boss might say, this is the deadline. It is what it is. You can't move it and you can't get hold of them. So then what do you do? So how can you communicate if nobody's picking up the phone or something? The first thing you do is when you know you can't meet the deadline, you still reach out. You send an email. You try to communicate in the best way you can. There are hopefully some other members on your team that you can rely on as well. Reach out to your team members, say, hey, I'm working on this project. It's due in tomorrow. If you have a couple of hours spare, or if you could switch something around, do you mind actually helping on this? I think I need a bit of help to get this pushed for tomorrow. I'll do your solid next week. I'll buy you a coffee and I'll say thank you and I can help you out next week in return. So it's like, you know, give or take. It is compromising. You've got to try and think around how to do this. So, and then sometimes, you know, if it's comes to the situation where somebody's given you a task and say, hey, Natalie, can you get this for me? I need this in an hour. It's urgent. The client reached out right now. I need this in an hour. If you can't do it, you just have to push back. And that actually makes you look more reliable rather than just struggle and you're in a huff and you're having a breakdown and you can't do everything and then it doesn't get met. It's better you said that, you know, actually, I've actually got 2 other things that I'm working on right now. They're also due by end of day today. If possible, do you think we can get another member of the team to work on this? Or if it's possible at all to just call up the client and say, perhaps we can get it by end of day tomorrow and then I'd be very happy to have a look at it. So it's showing that you're trying to compromise, you're trying to find a solution, but you're pushing back when you have to.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Rita. And we have a question from our actually YouTube follower. And everyone, guys, who are watching us on Instagram, we always also have a YouTube channel, and feel free to check it out. And if it's more convenient for you, you can watch Uma Talks and Uma Show there as well. So the question is there any practice that I can incorporate in my daily routine that will help me to be more reliable?
That's a great question. You know what? That's one of these open-ended questions that sometimes people strive for years. You know, sometimes it comes down to personality as well. If you are a yes person, later on, when you're younger, you might be like, oh, they're really friendly and they say yes to everything. They're really nice. But later on, you might be the one that might start to struggle later on. Well, how do I now push back? How do I say no? So I think it really depends on the kind of person you are, how you manage your day. I personally love structure. So when you have some sort of an outline of your day, even if your projects aren't structured, build that structure for yourself. So take your calendar, for example, whether it's Outlook, whether it's another app on your phone, whatever it is, use a structure, break down your day, allocate specific times to only work on a certain task. Maybe I think mornings only, I'm going to work on project A. In the afternoon, I've got half an hour, an hour there, I'm going to work on project B. Between 10 a.m. and 11:30, I'm going to be responding to emails only. Quite often we can get bogged down till we glance on a device, we see emails and we start responding and nothing gets done. So it's almost like you set yourself some time, you only respond or you only do things at that set time, and that can be a way to start as well. So structure, definitely. Be open to communicate. Don't be afraid of saying no, and think realistically, what can you actually get done?
Oh, thank you, Rita. It's such a wonderful advice, and I learned personally all this when I was a young designer, just from practice. And you know, sometimes you can get yourself in a situation that every morning you just open your email and then it will take the half of the day. And then at the middle of the day, think, wow, what can I do? How can I like do actually what I wanted to do? And all this structure, it literally, guys, be ready that it literally takes time and takes experiments. How structured should it be? Because for my personal experience, it should be structured, but not too rigid, because you do creative stuff. Sometimes it just takes longer, or sometimes you get an inspiration. It's better to work in the flow, but then think, all right, it's like I run out of time and I should answer my emails or do something else. So experiment and find the way that is the best, that best works for you. And we would be very grateful if you will share your practices with us as well, as in DMs, in comments, or in email. And Rita, we have one more question for today, and this question is from Diana, and Diana is writing for us. Thanks for your post on resume gap. That's what happened to me. I was out of work for 5 years, and now I noted that no one wants to hire me. What should I do?
Well, Diana, thank you so much for writing in, and actually for noticing our post. So one of the reasons, actually, and I'm not sure how many people know this, but Uma got started was because of my personal journey. And that was that when I entered the journey of motherhood, and I have 2 small children, they're now 5 and 7, I took an almost 4-year gap to raise them. And when I started exploring going back to work, like you, I had a gap on my resume, after which that got translated as I'm not reliable, I'm clearly not a career-orientated person, or how can I be somebody who's like a go-getter out there? Couldn't be furthest from the truth. I was very passionate. So here's some advice as well. In order to be reliable, quite often it translates as people's perceptions. There is a big element of unconscious bias that is linked to how people perceive, and they build prejudices based upon that. One of them being a proverbial gap on the resume. So what I tell people all the time, and this is what I do for myself as well, is that you don't want to hide from the fact that you've entered the journey of motherhood, or whatever reason you've left the professional workforce for, but it's a narrative change. Be proud of it, but then fill that up with something. Now, I noticed your wording, you mentioned that, you know, I left work. Work depends how you define it. You know, for me, for example, I was in investment banking, I was in the healthcare industry, traveling everywhere, but nothing trumped working and being with my kids 24/7 and being that full-time mother. That was the hardest job I've ever done. So from my perspective, that was 100% work. So I think it depends how you see it. And similarly, there were so many skills that are transferable back to the workforce. You know, things like the ability to negotiate. I tell people all the time, if you can negotiate with your toddlers, there is no one on this planet you can't take on. Similarly, you become a better communicator when you're having conversations across different disciplines and with different age groups and different language barriers, things like that. So these are things that you're doing. You're always having to fit things into your day. By default, you actually end up being quite structured with your day and actually more organized, hence more reliable when you become a mother. So these are things that should, I feel, end up on your resume. So, you know, what did you do? Okay, fine, you might have been a full-time mother. Did you look after household finances? Did you look after the household budget? Were you involved in your child's school, for example, in some capacity? There's always something that can be put up there where the skills can be directly translated to the job you're looking to do. So, and also it's a confidence thing. You know, if you own that and say, okay, I'm proud of my skills, this is the hardest I've worked. When people decide to think, okay, I'm gonna give Diana a chance, let me interview her, let that conviction, let that passion come through. When they see that, when they hear that, no one's gonna stop you. So best of luck to you. Do feel free to reach out if you have any other questions.
Oh, thank you, Rita. And Diana, good luck with finding your dream job. And guys, it's all for now. And I can wait to see you next week because we're gonna talk about problem solving.
Yes. Love that topic because it's something that we all deal with all the time, and it actually flows very well from last week's when we did building trust, and this week's reliability, because some ways we come in across as but we can't solve the problem. Yes, we can, and that's what it's all about. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Definitely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rita, and bye, and see you next time.